men accused of killing a pregnant woman are now in jail. Thanks for joining us at noon. I'm Kelly Rippin.
And I'm Stephen Albritton. The 2023 shooting in Coleraine Township left India Kinnamore and her unborn baby dead. WLWT News 5's Daniel Dindak is here with the emotional day in court as two suspects face the judge.
You won't believe the shocking twist in this story. A woman days away from giving birth to her third child loses her life, and so does her unborn child. But here's where it gets even more disturbing. The very person responsible for their deaths, someone she once loved, went online to cry about it. People actually sympathized with him. But was it true grief, or just manipulation at its finest?
India's mother spoke, and it was very powerful. And here's how we got to this point. On March 4th, 2023, Coleraine Township officers responded to Hidden Meadows Drive and found 26-year-old Kinnamore shot and killed. She was pregnant. And today in court, we learned she died on the day she was set to be induced.
Stick around, because what you're about to hear will shatter everything you thought you knew about this case. Welcome to Crime Story Watch, where every story will keep you on the edge of your seat. These are not just cases, they're lives forever changed. Subscribe and hit the bell. Don't miss out on the truth waiting to be uncovered. This story takes us to Coleraine Township, a quiet suburban community nestled just outside Cincinnati, Ohio. Known for its peaceful atmosphere, tree-lined streets, and family-friendly vibe, Coleraine feels like the kind of place where people come to escape the hustle and bustle of the city. It's a neighborhood where kids play outside, neighbors know each other's names, and the crime rate is low. So low, in fact, that you'd never expect a tragedy to hit this close to home. Coleraine has always been seen as a safe haven, a place where families could build their dreams, raise their children, and grow old together. But as anyone who's been through an unexpected tragedy knows, safety can be an illusion. Behind the closed doors of the most ordinary homes can lie extraordinary darkness. It's in this community, where peace reigns by day and silence fills the night, that a nightmare was about to unfold. India Kinnamore, a 26-year-old mother of two, was days away from giving birth to her third child. Despite the struggles every mother faces, India was excited, even if she'd had some reservations about the pregnancy. Just months before, she'd expressed that if you'd asked her a year ago if she wanted another child, her answer would have been a resounding no. But life, it seems, had other plans. She was about to welcome a new baby into the world, a new beginning for her family, one filled with hope and love. India shared a long-term relationship with her partner, Kayvon Warren. Kayvon, age 30, had been with India for several years. He was a father of two young children with India and was awaiting the arrival of their third child. He was often seen as a hard-working man, someone who was trying to make it in the world, but those close to him described him as controlling. Kayvon wasn't always the man he appeared to be. Behind closed doors, he had a history of pressuring India, particularly about her pregnancy. This pressure would eventually build into something much darker. Despite their struggles, Kayvon and India had dreams of a happy future, raising their children together, building a family. On the surface, everything seemed like it was going as planned. But just beneath that facade, tensions were rising. And then on the morning of March 4th, 2023, their world came crashing down. India's life was taken from her, and so was the life of her unborn child, just days before the joy of birth. This wasn't just another statistic or a random act of violence. This was a deeply personal crime, one that would leave a family broken, a community reeling, and the question of why hanging in the air. Kayvon Warren was no stranger to India's world. They'd been together for years, and their two children were already part of the tapestry they'd woven together. But as this tragedy unfolded, questions began to swirl. What was really going on behind closed doors? What led to this violent end for a mother who had so much to live for? What was the real story between India and Kayvon? Coleraine Township had never seen anything like this. The crime that would rock this seemingly perfect neighborhood was about to unfold in ways no one could predict. And as we peel back the layers of this devastating story, we'll uncover not just the who and the what, but the why and what it says about the people involved. India's death wasn't just a random act of violence, it was something much deeper, something that had been building for a while. On March 4th, 2023, India Kinnamore, who was only days away from giving birth, was found dead in her home. Her unborn baby also lost their life. The whole town was in shock, but the real question was, why did this happen? Kayvon Warren, India's partner, was one of the last people to see her alive. On the outside, they seemed like any other couple. They had 2 kids and were expecting a third. But something wasn't right behind the scenes. What made Kayvon do something so horrible? The police started investigating and found a lot more than they expected. They dug through phone records, camera footage, and talked to people who knew the couple. What they found shocked them. This wasn't just a random crime. It was planned. What made this worse was that Kayvon didn't have a clean history with India. Even though they had 2 kids together, there were signs that their relationship wasn't as happy as it seemed. India had told some of her friends that Kayvon had been putting a lot of pressure on her about the pregnancy. She had even told some people that she wasn't sure if she wanted to have another baby, but Kayvon convinced her that everything would be okay. On the day of the murder, the police discovered something terrifying. This wasn't just a crime of passion. Kayvon was involved in the killing, and it was planned. What would drive a person to murder the mother of their children? What made him do this? Was it jealousy? Anger? Or was it because he wanted to be in complete control of India's life? Why do you think Kayvon did this? Was it because he wanted control, or was it something else? Just days after India's tragic death, something happened that made everything even more disturbing. Kayvon Warren, the man accused of killing her, posted something on social media. His words, "Baby, I'm hurting bad off this one. I love y'all." Imagine that. The man who allegedly took the life of the woman he once loved and their unborn child goes online to cry about how much he's hurting. It didn't stop there. People, complete strangers, began to send him messages of sympathy. They felt sorry for him. But here's the question. Was Kayvon truly heartbroken? Or was this just a way for him to cover his tracks and look innocent? The real horror wasn't just that he posted about it. It was how easily people believed him. People who didn't know him, who didn't know what really happened, still felt sorry for him. How could that be? It's like a man walking into a room with blood on his hands, then acting like he was the victim. Is this real grief, or is it just another trick to get away with what he did? How many people have been fooled by this act? Do you think Kayvon was really grieving, or was he just trying to make people feel sorry for him? What does this say about how some people can fake emotions to cover their mistakes? Before everything turned into a nightmare, India had shared her thoughts on the pregnancy that would change her life. She made a post on social media just months before her death. In it, she talked about how she felt about becoming a mother again. India's post read, "I woke up this morning in my feels. If you would have asked me a year ago, shit, maybe even a couple months ago, did I want another kid, my answer was hell no, until TMH had other plans for me." This wasn't some perfect, happy picture. India had doubts. She wasn't sure if she wanted to have another baby, but life had a way of surprising her, and now she was about to give birth to a new life. In contrast, Kayvon was acting like he was the one suffering. He posted about his pain just days after India's death, but what about India? She was the one carrying the baby. She was the one who had to face the uncertainty, the fears, the changes in her body, and the decision to move forward with the pregnancy. Her words reflect the very real struggle she faced, but in the end, she chose to move forward, deciding to welcome the child into the world despite her initial feelings. And then, just days later, India's life was taken from her. Kayvon didn't seem to recognize the pain she had experienced, the emotions she had shared so openly about her pregnancy. Instead, he focused on his own grief. How could someone who was part of the decision to bring this life into the world be so quick to take it away? India's words show how conflicted she was about the pregnancy. Do you think Kayvon understood her struggle? Or was he more focused on his own needs? What does this say about their relationship? After 2 years of investigation, the truth finally came to light, and it was more chilling than anyone had imagined. The authorities charged 3 men in connection with the deaths of India Kinamore and her unborn child.
Breaking tonight back at home, Coleraine police announced arrests in a cold case involving the murder of a pregnant woman.
So this all happened back in 2023. 26-year-old India Kinnamore was pregnant when she was shot on Hidden Meadows Drive. She and her unborn child were killed. Tonight, Coleraine police announcing the arrests of 3 men for the murders. 20-year-old Robert Irvin, 30-year-old Kayvon Warren, and 22-year-old Lamar Suggs are all charged with 2 counts of murder.
Kayvon Warren, who should have been protecting India and their children, was now facing 2 counts of murder, one for India and one for the unborn child she carried. It wasn't just about the murder, though. The police investigation uncovered his controlling behavior, pressure he'd placed on India about the pregnancy, and the violent escalation of their troubled relationship. Along with Kayvon, Robert Irvin and Lamar Morris Suggs were also arrested and charged. Irvin and Suggs were also facing charges of murder, linked directly to the crime scene and the planning that led to the tragic event. Kayvon, Irvin and Suggs all appeared in court on August 21, 2025.
And it was very emotional. She told the courtroom that her daughter was killed on the day she was set to get induced.
My name is Terry Kinnamore. I'm India's mother.
I'm so sorry for your loss.
Thank you.
Behind the glass sits a pain that can't be seen but heard. For Terry Kinnamore, that heartbreak dates back to March 2023.
I got the phone call from my grandson to say my mommy has been shot.
26-year-old India Kinnamore was pregnant.
Scheduled to be induced the same morning as the murder.
It would take almost 2.5 years for charges to come.
It was more chilling than anyone had imagined.
Prosecutors say all 3 men conspired to kill Kinnamore and her unborn child. The victim's mother, Terry Gilmore, spoke in court. She revealed her daughter was in a relationship with Warren and pregnant with his child.
I would like to ask for either a high bond or no bond. They were in a relationship. He killed his own son or plotted to kill his own son. He's been out for 2 years while this investigation is going on, while my daughter and his grandson are resting in a grave. I don't think he should see the light of day until this case is solved.
Their bonds were set at $600,000 each. While they had been arrested, they remained in custody as they awaited trial, their fate now in the hands of the court. It wasn't just the police work that uncovered the truth, it was the collection of evidence, such as phone records, location data, and surveillance footage that linked these men directly to the crime. Their involvement wasn't just circumstantial, it was clear, and now they were facing the consequences of their actions. But the real question still remains, why did Kayvon, who had been in a relationship with India for years, go to such extremes? Was it about controlling her, or did something else trigger this horrible act? The investigation might have uncovered the surface, but the deep emotional motives behind Kayvon's actions were still a mystery, one that could only be answered in the courtroom. Now that we know they've been arrested and charged, do you think the full truth will come out in court? Or is there more to this story that hasn't been revealed yet? The loss of India and her unborn child left an enormous hole in her family's heart. India's mother, Terry Kinnamore, struggled to make sense of the unimaginable pain she felt. A mother is never supposed to bury her child, and to make matters worse, India's 2 surviving children would now have to grow up without their mother. Imagine the heartbreak, the confusion, and the grief that must have washed over her family when they learned the truth. India's 2 young children were now left without the comfort of their mother's love, a tragic reality they would have to live with for the rest of their lives. Terry, a mother who had just lost her daughter and grandchild, was left to pick up the pieces of a shattered family. But the real question still lingers. How could this happen? How could someone who was supposed to protect the mother of his children, the person he promised to build a life with, turn on her so violently? Was Kayvon truly remorseful, or was his online post just a desperate attempt to avoid blame? As the court proceedings continue, and the families of India and her unborn child search for justice, the true depths of Kayvon's guilt become clearer. It's one thing to kill someone in a moment of rage, but to carry out such a calculated act, to destroy a life, and then act like the victim, is something far darker. What was really going on in his mind? Was he trying to cover up his guilt? Or was there something even deeper driving his actions, something that, for now, may never fully come to light? The case of India Kinamore is a painful reminder of how far some people will go to control and manipulate those around them, even those they claim to love. And in the end, it's the families, the children, and the loved ones left behind who are left to pick up the pieces, struggling to make sense of a tragedy that never should have happened. India's 6-year-old son, the one who lost his mother in the most brutal way, was the one who called his grandmother in those horrifying moments, saying, "My mummy has been shot." A child's voice in the middle of unimaginable fear, reaching out for help in the worst way possible. That is the pain India's family has to live with every day. Rest in peace, India Kinamore. We remember her not just for the tragedy, but for the love she had for her children and the strength she showed despite her struggles. If this story has touched you and you want to be part of the fight for justice, please like this video, share it with your friends, and let us know where you're watching from in the comments. It's crucial that these stories are heard. We need to honor her memory and raise awareness. Don't let her death be forgotten. Subscribe to stay updated on cases like this, and let's keep pushing for justice, because India deserves that. And so does her family. Thank you for watching.